Welcome to the Basics of E-Business, and today we're going to be talking about Module 1, and that's what kind of digital business are you building? This is probably the most important decision that you're going to need to make. This isn't about what you sell, it's about how you create and deliver value. If you start here, everything else is going to follow. Maria has a prime downtown location. She has loyal customers and a carefully curated inventory, and the business has been comfortable, even stable. But then everything changes. Her revenue starts declining, her customer base is aging, and fewer young customers are coming in. At a family meeting, Maria's nephew Alex says, "We need a complete digital transformation, not just a Facebook page." And then her longtime customer and friend who runs a wine subscription service says, "Start a monthly club subscription with curated selections delivered to members, and you'll have recurring revenue every month." They're all talking about going digital, but these sound like completely different businesses. So which one is right? Now, we're not just talking about different tactics. These are fundamentally different business models. And choosing the wrong one or choosing randomly could mean months of work headed in the wrong direction. Or worse, she could be investing capital for the wrong approach. So let's start by taking a look at 3 basic digital business models that you can choose from. Model 1, that's direct sales or e-commerce. That's where you own the inventory, you control the customer relationship, you handle fulfillment. It's like running a traditional store, but online. Some examples would be Nike's online store, the Apple Store online, IKEA online, and the list goes on. The key characteristic here is that you own and you control the product and everything else. Marketing, shipping, customer service, that's yours to manage. Now, for Maria, that would mean building her own online bookstore, managing the website, handling orders and shipping, and maintaining those customer relationships that she's built over 15 years. Model 2, that is a marketplace model. That's where you list your products or services on an established platform. Now, the platform already has traffic and infrastructure, but here's the thing, you don't own the customer relationship. The platform does, but you do get instant access to their audience. Some examples would be Amazon, Airbnb. In Poland, we have Allegro and Empik. The key characteristic to a marketplace is that you are renting access to their customers and their infrastructure. You pay for that access through fees or commissions. So let's look at this example for Maria. This would mean listing her inventory on Amazon or Empik, and they handle the technology and they bring the customers, and she just focuses on fulfillment. But she loses her relationship that she's built with her customers, and that's what makes her bookstore special. The third model, that would be subscriptions. Now, that's where customers pay you regularly for ongoing access to value. Now, this could be products like HelloFresh or services like Spotify or software like Adobe Creative Cloud. The key characteristic here is that you own and you control the ongoing relationship, and the revenue is predictable and it's recurring, but you have to deliver value constantly. So how does a subscription model look for Maria? That would mean creating a monthly book subscription, maybe curated selections for different reader types, She would need to source books, create value through curation and recommendations, and she would have to deliver consistently every month. And she would also have the fulfillment logistics that she would have to deal with. The critical insight here is that in each one of these models, what you own is completely different. For example, in direct sales, you own the product and the customer relationship. In a marketplace, you own your own listing on somebody else's platform. And in a subscription model, you own the ongoing relationship and curation of the content that you are delivering. So this is going to affect everything about how your business works. Your costs, your risks, your growth potential, even what success looks like. So I want you to consider this. Which model would you choose? If you had to pick one model for Maria, based only on whatever sounds the least risky, what would you choose? And is least risky the right way to decide? What does ownership for Maria mean in each one of these three business approaches? Maria's nephew says that she needs a complete digital transformation, not just a Facebook page. What's the difference between having a social media presence and actually transforming your business model to a digital one? I'd like you to reflect on this. And throughout this course, throughout these modules, I'll be asking you to take out your journal and at the top of a page, write today's date, the module number, and reflection 1. And below that, write how I choose between models as a customer. And then think about these three models from a customer's perspective, not a business owner's perspective. And for example, what do you prefer? When do you prefer buying from an independent bookstore's own website? And when do you prefer buying from a marketplace like Amazon or MPIC? And when would you subscribe to a book service? Think about what makes each experience better or worse for you as a book buyer. How should this affect which model a bookstore chooses? Take about 5 to 10 minutes to answer this question. Find a quiet spot where you can write undisturbed. Pause the video and just write your thoughts. Remember, we're not looking for right or wrong answers. What we want to do is just to think strategically and creatively about the decisions that you would make. Maria needs a framework for making this decision. She can't just go with the gut feeling. Let's look at 5 questions that will help you and Maria choose the right model. These aren't about which model is best. They're about which model fits your specific situation. Question 1, what can you actually control? The e-commerce model assumes that Maria can manage online inventory and fulfillment. That she can handle customer service and returns, that she can build and maintain a website and deal with shipping and logistics and the costs. A marketplace removes most of that operational burden, but it also removes control over pricing and the customer experience and discovery. And she's subject to the platform's rules and regulations and their algorithms. Plus, she's competing on price along with everyone else with the same books. The subscription model is going to require Maria to curate selections every month. She'll have to source interesting books consistently. What happens when she can't find the right books or when subscriber interests diverge? So what Maria is discovering is that she has to match the model to what she can realistically control and deliver. You have to think about your current abilities and your resources. Question 2 is, where does the value actually live? And think about Maria's bookstore. If the value is in specific books, let's say rare or specialized inventory, that points towards sales or a marketplace. And if the value is in curation and recommendations, like Maria knows what you'll love before you do, well, that points towards direct sales or subscriptions as well. And if the value is connecting readers with authors and each other, like building community and relationships, well, that points towards subscription or direct sales, but with community features added. You have to ask yourself, what are people really paying me for? Are they paying for the books themselves, the product, or are they paying for my expertise? For example, matching readers to books, that would be curation. What Maria realizes is that her longtime customers don't just come to her for books. They come to her for recommendations, for the community of readers, for the feeling that someone understands their reading tastes. And that's where her real value lies. Question 3 is, what can you scale? Maria's physical bookstore is limited by her location. She can't serve more customers than can physically visit her store. Different digital models, they're going to scale differently. For example, direct sales scale with your capacity, your operational capacity. Maria can reach customers beyond her city, but she needs the systems to fulfill her orders. Marketplaces will scale with the platform's reach. Maria borrows Amazon's or Empic's scale. So there's fast growth potential, but she's competing with everyone else selling the same books. Discovery in this case is the challenge. With subscriptions, those scale with her curation capacity. Maria can serve 100 or 1,000 subscribers with roughly the same monthly curation effort, but she has to source the books consistently, and she has to maintain quality as the business grows. The question is, what can Maria actually scale? What is she capable of? This is a question of your operational reality. It's not about your ambition. Question 4 is, what can you afford to build? So each model is going to come with different costs. E-commerce is going to need a website. It's going to need payment processing, shipping infrastructure. Even a simple Shopify store costs money to set up and maintain. Plus, you still need to figure out fulfillment. A marketplace is usually pretty cheap to start. You just have your listing fees or commissions. But you're going to pay for that low barrier of entry forever through these fees. Subscription requires packaging and fulfillment, curation systems, content creation, and the ability to survive while you build an audience. Maria has a very small budget. She can invest time and her existing inventory, but she can't afford expensive infrastructure or long time frames without any revenue. Question 5 is, how will you validate demand? And this is a pretty common mistake. And that's building an entire business before you've tested if anyone wants it. The smart move is to pick a model that lets you test quickly and cheaply. And we call that the minimum viable product, or your MVP. So for Maria, that might mean for e-commerce. She could create a simple landing page, maybe list 10 to 20 of her most unique books, and drive her existing customers to it via email, and see if anyone actually buys online. For the marketplace, she could list some inventory on Amazon or Empic and see what sells and at what price, and test if she could compete in that environment. For a subscription service, she could announce a trial book club with maybe a 3-month commitment and see if 10 of her current customers sign up. and deliver the first month and get feedback before building the full infrastructure. So what Maria's learning is that you choose a model that makes it easy to discover if you're wrong early on, before you've spent everything, before you've committed to infrastructure that you might not need. I want you to consider these 5 questions for your own business, whether it's a real business you're thinking about starting or a case study. First, what can you actually control? Secondly, where does the value actually live? Third, what can you scale? Fourth, what can you afford to build? And fifth, how are you going to validate demand? For your digital business, which of these 5 questions matters the most? I'd like you to reflect on this. Go to a fresh page in your journal. At the top, write today's date. Below that, write reflection 2. And below that, write a business model I would struggle with. And think about yourself. Which of these 3 business models would be the hardest for you personally? And I'm not talking about the least profitable or the least exciting, but one that would make you miserable day to day. Is it creating consistent content every month for a subscription, or managing inventory and customer service for e-commerce? Or would it be having no control over pricing or discovery in a marketplace, as an example? What is it about your personality, your work style, or your life situation that makes that model a poor fit for you? And be specific and honest. It's not about what you should want, it's about what would actually work for who you are right now. Take about 5 to 10 minutes, find a quiet spot where you can write your thoughts. Remember, there's no right or wrong answers. This is just an opportunity for you to do some creative, strategic thinking. After working through these 5 questions, Maria makes her decision. She's going to go with a hybrid approach, but she's going to start with e-commerce. And her reasoning is that she already owns the inventory, and the value in her business is in her curation experience and her expertise and her relationships with her customers. She can start small with a simple online bookstore. She can test with her existing customer base, build gradually as she learns. She's not ruling out subscription services eventually, but e-commerce with community features lets her test the market with what she already has. So what she's building is a simple online store featuring her curated selections, an email newsletter with reading recommendations, and eventually she's planning virtual author events and reading groups. Basically, she's translating her in-store experience and expertise and community to digital. Maria didn't choose based on what sounded the coolest or what made her nephew excited about technology. She chose based on an honest assessment of her own unique situation, her capabilities and her constraints. Could a different model have worked for her? Well, probably. But this one matches where she is right now. Her decision is grounded in reality. Once Maria picks her model, everything else follows. The website that she needs. It's a simple e-commerce platform, and she can focus on showcasing curated selections with strong content about books and recommendations. Her marketing approach is sending emails to her existing customers with content about books and reading, building on her established expertise. Her growth strategy is converting foot traffic customers to online customers and generating word of mouth from satisfied readers, building her reputation beyond her physical locations, and eventually adding community features like virtual book clubs. Do you see how your choice cascades through every other choice? That's why this is the first question to answer. But here's a warning. You can change models, but it could be expensive and it could be painful. You're essentially starting over in many cases. Your infrastructure, your audience, and their expectations, and your marketing might be wrong if you go with a different approach. That's why this decision matters. It's not permanent, but the costs of switching are very real. Now you're ready to write about your business model decision. This is section 1 of your digital strategy. Which model are you choosing and why? What sort of trade-offs are you accepting? And how will you validate demand? Draft your business model decision, write about 1 to 2 pages for your case study. You want to answer which business model you're choosing, whether it's direct sales, a marketplace, or subscription, or possibly even a hybrid. Why does this model fit your business? Use the 5 questions as your framework. What you control, the value, how you'll scale, how you'll afford it, and how you'll validate demand. What trade-offs are you accepting? Every model has its limitations. What's your test before you go all in? Remember, this is about picking a model that meets and matches your specific situation. Your strategy should reflect reality. In the next session, we'll discuss how will customers find you in a digital world, and I look forward to seeing you there.